Scrappy's life is in danger. Please pray. Scrappy was a small dog with a big heart. He was small in stature, but he was a giant in terms of the sheer force of his spirit, his will to survive, and his uncompromising will to never give up. Scrappy's universe, on the other hand, has suddenly been turned upside down. The dog, who used to be full of life and energy, and could usually be seen galloping around the neighborhood with his tail wagging in pure glee, was now struggling to survive. Scrappy was separated from the unknown by only a slender thread of hope. The straightforward yet deeply moving request of prayers needed resonated with the people who were familiar with him. The issue had developed quite quickly. Amanda, his loving owner, adopted Scrappy a few years ago. He was a rescue dog. She discovered him in a nearby shelter where he had been abandoned and was no longer desired. Scrappy's endless energy and lively personality had completely charmed Amanda from the first moment she saw him. He had a coat that was the softest, a patchwork of colors that made him look like a small stuffed animal, and a rebellious streak that was endearing to everyone around him. Amanda had seen Scrappy grow and thrive throughout the years. He became friends with the neighbors, chased squirrels in the yard, and snuggled up next to Amanda at night. He was her closest friend, and they had a connection that could never be broken. Scrappy was no longer just a pet, he was part of the family. However, one fateful day, the story took a turn for the worse. Scrappy was outside in the yard, chasing a ball, as he frequently did. He dashed through the woods, jumped across the lawn, and then fell down, as if everything was happening in slow motion. For a brief while, the world appeared to be frozen in time as his body became limp. Amanda hurried to his side, her heart pounding with panic. What occurred? Scrappy was no longer his normal playful self. He appeared to be having difficulty breathing, and his eyes had a glassy look to them. Panic began to take over. Amanda hurried to the emergency veterinary facility with him in her arms, hoping that they had not arrived too late. The medics swiftly evaluated the issue, and the news they delivered to Amanda was quite upsetting. Scrappy got a serious injury to his back. His hind legs were paralyzed because a disc in his spine had burst. The injury was serious, and although surgery was a possibility, it was a dangerous one. The doctors emphasized that even with surgery, Scrappy might never walk again. The idea of a dog who had previously been so full of life being confined to a wheelchair, or worse, never moving again, was too much to stomach. Amanda was heartbroken. As the seriousness of the situation became clear, she sat next to Scrappy and held his paw. How could this happen to her beloved dog? The person who had brought her so much happiness. She searched Scrappy's eyes for any indication that he was still the joyful, energetic puppy he used to be. However, all she could see was fear, bewilderment, and anguish. Days went by, and Amanda had a hard time accepting the fact that Scrappy was sick. He had a brace put on to support his back, but he still felt discomfort all the time. He appeared to have lost his desire to fight, and his eyes, which had once been sparkling, now looked dull. Watching it was painful. It was not an easy decision to make to go through with the operation. The price was exorbitant, and the dangers were significant. However, Amanda could not stand the idea of losing Scrappy, especially after all they had been through together. She decided to go forward with the procedure, hoping against hope that it would offer Scrappy a chance at recovery. Amanda was in the waiting room, holding her breath, while Scrappy was carried into surgery. All she could do was hope that the surgeons would be able to perform a miracle. She had already lost so much in her life, and she did not want to lose her tiny dog as well. It was impossible for her to imagine going home without Scrappy with her. It took hours before the surgeon arrived to give the news. Scrappy's recovery was not certain, even though the surgery had been conducted satisfactorily. The physicians informed Amanda that even though the surgery had been a success, it would take time for Scrappy to regain any movement in his legs, if at all. The prognosis was dubious, and the path ahead would be long and painful. Scrappy was in a serious condition, and still under the influence of the anesthesia from the procedure. Amanda was permitted to visit him, but he remained weak and unresponsive. His once active tail, which had always been a dependable sign of his attitude, hung limply at his side. As she reached out to rub his fur, she could feel the weight of the situation bearing down on her chest. Amanda realized at that moment that Scrappy's struggle to stay alive was not something he was going through by himself. She also had to fight for him. She was unable to stop caring about him. She felt that she had to do everything in her power to help him recover before she could let him go. Scrappy's condition gradually got better as the days passed. He began to exhibit slight indications of life. He twitched his paw here and there, and his tail wagged a little. Amanda was motivated, but she was aware that this was only the first step in a long journey. She was determined to keep going, even if the path to recovery would be difficult. The community that had come to love Scrappy came together to support Amanda and her cherished dog. Scrappy's neighbors, who had watched him grow up in their neighborhood, offered their support by bringing over meals, helping with errands, and even contributing to Scrappy's medical fund. It was touching to witness the outpouring of love and concern that was directed towards Scrappy. His narrative also touched the hearts of others who had never known Amanda or Scrappy. Messages of encouragement and prayers for Scrappy's recovery flooded social media pages. Amanda set up a GoFundMe page to help pay for Scrappy's ongoing medical treatments, and the response was incredible. Donations began to flood in from people all over the country within just a few days. Many of these people had been moved by Scrappy's story. Amanda was reminded that she was not alone in this by the overwhelming amount of love she received. She had the support of a community that cared about her and Scrappy, which gave her the strength to keep fighting, even on the hardest days. As the weeks became into months, Scrappy continued to show signs of progress. His legs remained weak, but he started to stand for short intervals. The physicians were cautiously optimistic, though they cautioned Amanda that there were no certainties. Scrappy's improvement was sluggish, but it was progress nonetheless. Amanda did everything she could to support Scrappy's recuperation. She worked with physical therapists to help him restore movement in his legs. She sat with him for hours, providing him with encouragement, comfort, and the love that had always been a constant in his life. Scrappy's spirit appeared to be coming back, and along with it, his strength. His tail, which used to hang down, now wags a little more every day. However, the journey was still far from complete. Scrappy's health still required regular attention, and the physical treatment was exhausting. There were days when Scrappy appeared to be making progress, and there were other days when it seemed like they were going backwards. Amanda continued to move forward, never losing hope, even though the uncertainty of the future loomed over her like a dense cloud. One day, as Amanda watched Scrappy struggle to stand on his own, she understood that the real miracle was not in whether or not Scrappy would walk again. The real miracle was the unwavering love and support that had surrounded them both throughout this journey. It was in the kindness of strangers who had offered prayers and donations. It was in the community that had come together to support Scrappy when he needed them the most. And it was in the bond that had only grown stronger between Amanda and her dog, a bond that no challenge could break. Scrappy's life was still hanging by a thread, but that thread was weaved with hope, love, and trust. Amanda understood that whatever the outcome, they had fought together every step of the way. And that, in itself, was a victory. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: Scrappy was not alone. And neither was Amanda. The prayers that had come in from all over the world had turned into more than just words. They had become the basis for a journey that would continue on, regardless of what happened next. Scrappy's existence may have been precarious, but it was supported by the love of people who believed in him, battled for him, and prayed for him to be better. With that level of backing, anything might be accomplished.